You slowly open your eyes, staring at the familiar ceiling, enveloped in the usual silence. No one is asking your name. No one is concerned about how your last hours unfolded. Existence spins indifferently, and this is not a perception borrowed from books or casual conversations. It is a truth absorbed in every nighttime tremor, in every emptiness felt in the abdomen, in the icy breath of lonely dawns when only the discreet hum of the fan proves that life continues to move forward, even without you noticing. While many protect themselves in false collective security, embracing an illusory comfort, you alone carry the marks of your journey. You keep moving forward even though unanswered questions weigh on your chest and your heart is accustomed to loss and distance. But there is something crucial about this condition that no one has shared before. Machiavelli's work was not made for those who follow the crowd. It was designed precisely for those who observe reality in silence, for those who have given up shallow embraces and begun to transform their thoughts into powerful instruments. Loneliness, when fully understood, is not weakness but an environment for strategic creation. It is an invisible academy where pain becomes a tool, rejection becomes a clear goal, and the absence of others becomes a source of inner power. Have you noticed this in everyday details? At work, those who praise excessively rise. On the streets, those who impose fear dominate. In politics, those who manipulate best win. You don't act like that. You observe each scene with clinical precision, mentally accumulating each betrayal, each silent contempt, each second you were invisible. And therein lies your particular strength. Those who owe nothing to anyone have complete freedom to decide and act. This is true Machiavellian wisdom, far beyond the superficial cliches you hear around. It is not just about the ends justifying the means. The real teaching is hidden between the lines, addressing directly those who had to build their own kingdoms after being excluded from social palaces. Never show vulnerability. Do not easily trust what the eyes can see, and never expect compassion to come from outside. There is no coldness in this conduct, only profound lucidity. After all, the world functions as a complex field of invisible battles. Those who understand its rules survive better. Those who reject them inevitably suffer. You, who walk alone, are the exiled prince of the modern age. Without a throne, without subjects, without adornments, but with a much rarer and more dangerous resource at your disposal: time to observe and understand deeply. While the world is agitated and distracted, you remain serene, studying possibilities and future scenarios. While crowds rush about, you wait for the right moment to act, quietly preparing strategies that no one will be able to predict until it is too late. Today you will discover 3 essential Machiavellian strategies for the man who lives in isolation. These are not tricks to appear robust in the eyes of others. They are practices that, once mastered, make anyone impossible to break. Don't expect gentle advice or comforting cliches. Here we will talk about techniques honed by time, which have survived centuries precisely because they are ignored by naive and impulsive individuals. First point: forget about proving anything to anyone. While the rest of the world fights for recognition, barking for crumbs of attention, you remain quiet, observing. You have already learned that real strength lies precisely in remaining motionless when everyone expects movement, in remaining silent when everyone expects noise, in disappearing precisely when your ego demands to appear. Machiavelli understood this dynamic well. He knew that authentic power does not shout or flaunt itself openly. On the contrary, it remains discreet, almost non-existent, until it is too late to notice it. The average person fears being alone because they are forced to face their own essence. But those who master silence use this emptiness as a workshop to sharpen their minds. Every solitary moment is a new chance to prepare. It is not just about social distancing. but rigorous training while others indulge in noise and distraction. While people post motivational phrases in search of easy approval, you strategically withdraw, carefully studying your opponent's weaknesses. Understand clearly, noise does not equal strength. Your greatest threat manifests itself precisely when you move discreetly. It is in stillness that your perception sharpens, detecting who lies, who manipulates, and who is just trying to survive in a cruel environment. Machiavellian patience is a lethal tool because while the world wastes its ammunition on impulsiveness, you simply wait. And when you finally act, you leave no room for reaction. Have you noticed those people who disappear for a while and return completely transformed? More mature, calculating, and unperturbed? It was not weakness that drove them away, but meticulous planning. The hidden power of those who choose silence lies precisely in not being seen. Their absence weighs more than any intense and fleeting presence. This Machiavellian technique manipulates the perception of others. It is not about direct confrontation, but about avoiding precisely what they expect. Instead of predictable responses, you offer exactly the opposite. This is how fear arises. No one can define you. No one clearly understands what you think and feel. The unknown generates respect and fear, so never explain yourself. Don't desperately seek to be understood. Don't cry out for attention. Do as the great strategists of history did before you. Walk alone, remain silent, and let your actions, results, and absence speak much louder than 1,000 voices together. Now that you are well acquainted with the Machiavellian power of discretion, the time has come to unveil another crucial method: using contempt as a strategic tool to become emotionally unreachable. The great mistake of the contemporary individual is precisely to want constant approval. You have become accustomed to seeking recognition, ardently desiring that the world perceive your value. Because of this, you often justify yourself, diminish yourself, and become too small. This is where Machiavelli's relentless wisdom comes in, reminding you of something that few can clearly accept when it is impossible to obtain both affection and respect. Prioritize being feared. This is not gratuitous cruelty, but a firm and lucid stance. Those who find themselves strong and lonely understand that they do not need to beg for affection. Instead, they cultivate respect with emotional distance. There is no room for useless sentimentality when bonds no longer offer true reciprocity. It is necessary to become impersonal to the point of calmly distancing oneself from people who only show up when they need something. Smile politely and leave without warning. Without drama, without resentment. The logic is relentless. That which is constantly available immediately loses its value. Only the inaccessible arouses fascination because human beings value what they fear losing. This is where strategic distancing, carefully applied, comes into play. It is not vulgar contempt or disguised arrogance, but the conscious ability to refuse easy and superficial attention. When you act this way, you create tension. This tension arouses interest, and interest quickly turns into power. Understand clearly, you don't need to humiliate anyone, just avoid paying attention to what doesn't matter. Refuse superficial invitations, ignore cheap provocations, and abandon environments where you are treated as a second option. Those who truly understand Machiavellian power do not accept crumbs, for they have learned to feed on their own value. Think of that person who, after an episode of disrespect, does not argue, does not explain themselves, but simply disappears without warning. They do not seek attention, beg for understanding, or demand apologies. Their silence, however, is deafening. When they leave, it is final. For this very reason, they become an irresistible enigma. By selectively choosing with whom to share your time and emotional energy, you make your value clear. Your distance creates respect, and that respect is deeper and more lasting than any passing affection. Your absence becomes your protection, emotional distance a genuine source of freedom. Now, fully understanding the hidden power of emotional distance, there remains one last secret to master: how to turn others' underestimation into your greatest advantage. The most common mistake of those who seek power is precisely to want to appear too much, to show off excessively and thus become vulnerable. True supremacy lies precisely where one least expects it, in the discreet shadow of anonymity. The man who lives in solitude, when he awakens to his own strength, quickly learns the strategic importance of remaining invisible. It is not a weakness, but rather a refined form of self-preservation and control. Anonymity does not limit. On the contrary, it offers absolute freedom, allowing you to act exactly when no one expects you to. Look around you. There is always that quiet colleague in the office, almost unnoticed, yet surprising in the efficiency of their work. Or that discreet guy at the party whom few notice, but who maintains solid and real bonds away from the social spotlight. And yet, the man absent from digital networks who does not need to show off his trajectory but knows exactly who he is, where he wants to go, always a few steps ahead of the distracted crowd. Being underestimated is liberating precisely because it allows you to walk without the shackles of other people's expectations. The world is always quick to judge, using only noise, appearance, or momentary status as criteria. That is why it makes so many mistakes, giving in to superficial illusions. In this scenario, you act discreetly, patiently, gaining ground while no one notices, evolving in the shadows without revealing your true strength until the right moment. You become the shadow that brings down the most powerful, precisely because you were not the center of attention. However, remember, this technique requires extreme patience and absolute self-control. It is not suitable for those who constantly need external approval, nor for those who beg for attention or quick recognition. It is a method that favors sunt and meticulous construction, waiting patiently for the right moment to act. It is the advantage of choosing the precise moment to reveal your strength without being noticed beforehand, carefully preparing a blow that is impossible to predict or avoid. The man who deeply understands this strategy does not waste his energy on useless displays or seek constant validation, because he knows that the greatest strength is never in the spotlight, but hidden in the shadows, growing silently and relentlessly. Have you noticed how the great winners in history don't usually shout about their achievements? They celebrate discreetly, revealing themselves only when victory is assured. This is how true supremacy is achieved, with strategic patience and unexpected actions. Now that you deeply understand the value of strategic invisibility, there remains an even more powerful secret to explore, something that transforms the lonely man into an absolute force: the ability to transcend your own internal pain. The greatest challenge is never outside, but within yourself. True Machiavellian power does not lie in dominating others, but in completely conquering your own emotions. Absolute strength is born of personal discipline, the courage to face your deepest shadows, confront your old wounds, your most hidden fears, and all those false stories you told yourself while trying to survive. Pain is inevitable and part of human existence. Suffering, in turn, is nothing more than a necessary chapter in the journey of those who master Machiavellian principles. The man who understands this sees pain as something beyond discomfort. He sees it as essential raw material, a powerful resource that, if used well, shapes his spirit into an indestructible fortress. Discipline, contrary to what many imagine, is not punishment, but rather a strategic tool, a weapon carefully constructed step by step, piece by piece. Think of the individual who deliberately chooses to wake up early, not out of social obligation or for applause, but to exercise total control over their own time and mind. Imagine someone who masters their impulses because they recognize that true freedom lies precisely in the ability to control themselves. Someone who rejects illusory and easy comforts because they clearly understand that the truth, though harsh, is the only valid path to real growth. This individual transforms their body, mind, and will into an unshakable wall. Make no mistake, this level of discipline is severe and relentless. It completely shatters the fantasies of comfort and the illusion of effortless reward. It requires deep courage, the daily courage to resist the natural instinct of self-pity and to remain steadfast even when all circumstances suggest giving up. It is precisely this silent, continuous, and discreet persistence that clearly separates those who merely survive from those who truly triumph. After all, real victory is not limited to superficial achievements or empty trophies, but lies in the ability to remain whole in the face of the world's relentless adversities. A disciplined mind works like a sharp blade ready to cut through all the invisible chains that try to imprison it. This discipline ignites internal doubts, transforming them into a new form of strength. It is precisely this brutal secret that serves as the definitive bridge between individual suffering and real, lasting power. You have come this far not to receive easy praise or empty words, but because you have proven yourself to be a true survivor. You have faced the harsh reality head-on, endured deep silences, weathered internal storms, and still remained steadfast. This journey has already begun, though few realize it, hidden from the inattentive eyes of the world, almost like a whisper in the shadows. At this point, there is no room for empty promises or easy solutions. What matters is the sincere courage to face your inner reality, to accept discomfort as a severe but fair teacher. Now I want to propose something deeply symbolic. Write the phrase, "I fall, I rise, and I win" in the comments below. This simple gesture represents a silent pact between you, who have chosen to face uncomfortable truths, and those who still live in the comfortable illusion of lies. Subscribe to this channel not just to be another number, but to be part of a discreet and powerful resistance. A silent community of individuals who see reality with clarity and reject the superficial illusions that surround the majority. Here there is no room for fragile consolations or empty self-help. This is a refuge where truth reigns supreme without masks or concessions. May your conscience become a powerful weapon. May your lucidity trigger profound internal changes. May your silence be stronger and more relentless than any cry. Move forward now, not as one who flees, but as one who advances with determination. May your path be fierce. May your vision remain sharp, and may the power of these words remain alive within you, forever marking your journey.